Welcome to my channel, Veterans Legacy. Tonight, you're about to hear a story that proves heroes don't always look the part, that courage can hide behind wrinkles, shaky hands, and soft voices. This is one of those stories that leaves you silent at the end, because when a USMC captain jokingly asked an old man his call sign, he expected a laugh, not a name that would make the entire room go still. The wind rolled across Camp Pendleton like a restless tide, carrying with it the scent of salt, sweat, and sand. The Marines were preparing for another brutal week of training, but today was different. Today they had visitors. Veterans, old warriors, men whose stories were fading with time. Some walked with canes, some with prosthetics, and some with nothing but memories. Young Marines gathered like curious wolves around them, eager for wisdom or just a good war story. Captain Logan Hayes, tall, broad-shouldered, with that carved-from-stone Marine confidence, stood in the crowd with his platoon. To him, Veterans Day visits were routine. He respected them deeply, but after years in service, sentiment had dulled into habit. Then he saw him, an old man, thin, quiet, hunched under a faded jacket with a patch barely holding on. His hands trembled as he leaned onto a wooden cane, his eyes pale like winter sky. No medals on his chest, no unit tags, no swagger. Just a frail figure watching the young Marines move like waves, disciplined, loud, alive. The old man didn't speak. He simply observed, almost invisible among the louder war heroes. Captain Hayes, casual and joking, approached him with a grin. "So, old-timer," he laughed, "what was your call sign?" "Let me guess, Grandpa." A few Marines snickered. The old man blinked slowly. Then, with a voice soft enough to make the wind hush, "Juicebox." The laughter stopped cold, because that name, that call sign, belonged to a legend. Captain Hayes felt his chest tighten. His grin faded. Juicebox. The man who flew missions no one believed were survivable. The pilot who brought birds home with engines on fire, wings torn apart. A ghost from aviation history, whispers, rumors, stories told in flight schools like mythology. No one even knew if he was still alive. And here he stood, frail, quiet, forgotten. "Hayes," voice cracked, "you're Juicebox, the pilot from Kuna Valley." The old man nodded, barely. Everything changed in that moment. The Marines who'd been joking now stepped closer, jaws tight, hearts beating heavy. Because they knew that story, or thought they did. But legends are never the full truth. That evening, the Marines gathered around him like children at a fire. The sun melted behind the barracks, and the sky bled orange like battlefield smoke. Captain Hayes offered him a seat, water, and for the first time that day, respect. Juicebox rested his cane across his lap, fingers tapping it like a heartbeat. He looked up slowly at the young faces waiting to hear his past, but when he spoke, his tale was nothing like what the world had told. "I wasn't supposed to be a hero," he began. "I was supposed to die before I even got off the ground." The Marines leaned forward. He told them about 1968, Vietnam, the year he was just an underfed kid barely trained, shoved into a helicopter seat because too many pilots were dead. He wasn't fearless. He was terrified, hands shaking so hard he could barely grip the stick. But he flew anyway, because someone had to. Because no one else was left. He told them about the mission that gave him the name, Juicebox. A rescue, impossible, suicidal, where a squad was pinned under machine gun fire in the jungle. He was ordered to stand down. He didn't. He disobeyed. He lifted that bird off the ground with tears in his eyes and death in his shadow. He landed where no sane man would. Bullets shredded the tail. The engine burst into flame. Men screamed through radio static. One crewman died beside him, and Juicebox kept flying, through smoke, through chaos, through hell itself, just to get those Marines home. He didn't earn medals. He earned ghosts, and he carried them longer than any ribbon ever could. The young Marines listened with breathless silence. Captain Hayes found himself gripping the arms of his chair. His throat tightened with something he hadn't felt since deployment, humility. "A call sign isn't a joke," Juicebox whispered. "It's a weight, sometimes heavier than a man should carry." His hands trembled, not from age, but memory. Hayes asked quietly, "Why didn't you tell anyone who you were today?" Juicebox smiled. Small, sad. Young warriors deserve their own legends. Mine are just old scars. But Hayes wasn't done, because heroes deserve more than silence. Dash dash dash. The captain stood, straight as parade steel. He looked at his Marines, his brothers, his future veterans, and gave an order not born from rank, but reverence. On your feet. Boots struck concrete as every Marine rose. He extended his hand to Juicebox, but instead of shaking, he saluted. Slow, sharp, pure. It wasn't regulation. It was respect. One by one, Marines followed. A wall of hands at brows, a tribute no medal ceremony would ever match. Juicebox's eyes glistened. Words failed. He hadn't been saluted like that in decades, not as a relic, but as a warrior. Hayes spoke louder, voice steady but quivering with emotion. You're not a fading legend. You're a foundation. You're the reason we fly. We fight. We come home. The old pilot wiped a tear. His voice nearly broke. I just did what I had to. And so do we, Hayes answered, because men like you showed us how. The camp was silent, the kind that humbles the soul. Even the sunset held still, as if honoring the moment. Juicebox stood slowly, unsteady, fragile, human, yet taller than any Marine there. And when he turned to leave, it felt like history walking away on tired feet. Hayes called after him softly. You're welcome here anytime, sir. Juicebox paused, looking back just once. His smile was thin, but full of life. I know, he whispered. Because you remembered me. And then he was gone. Just like a legend, fading back into story. Brothers, sisters, heroes don't always wear youth or muscle or polished medals. Sometimes they wear age, sometimes they walk slowly, sometimes they speak quietly, but their echoes shake the earth. Never mistake frailty for weakness. Never laugh at the old warrior in the back of the room. You don't know what battles he crawled through to stand there. If this story touched you, if it made you proud, made you think, made you feel, then don't let it fade. Like, comment, subscribe, be part of Veterans Legacy, where we keep heroes alive. Not in history books, but in memory, in honor, in heart. Because one day, someone may ask your call sign, and you'll pray they speak it with respect.